we're going to recap these games, but we're going to start with the Colts. All of the games across the NFL, for the most part, were very tight, contested games, except for this one. Tua sucks. Miami sucks. The Colts might be pretty good. And at the very least, Danny frickin' Dimes is elite. Right, Derek? How you doing, brother?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Week 1 of NFL action doesn't get any better, especially when the Indianapolis Colts finally do the one thing that they haven't done for 12 years, and that is win a Week 1 game. I was in high school, boys, when the last time the Indianapolis Colts started the season off with a W, and oh my gosh, does it feel great. I love it, and oh my gosh, what a game on Sunday. Indianapolis Colts played the best game of the entire AFC South, and it's not even close. And oh my gosh, you executed that to absolute perfection. Danny Dimes and Shane Steichen, that game plan, perfect. Being able to run the football, being able to pass the football, and then defensively getting 3 early turnovers, putting Miami in the dirt, never even giving them a chance in this game. It was 20-0 before halftime even came around, and then it just didn't stop there. Guys, the Colts are the first team in the NFL since 1978 to have 7 offensive possessions in a game and score on every single one of them. It was an amazing day for the Indianapolis Colts and for us fans. Oh my gosh, I am loving it, man.
Talk to me about Danny Dimes, though, because I know that this was not your favorite quarterback choice. He is the guy now, though, and he did drop some dimes for sure. I know that the corner shot that he hit was phenomenal. Just overall, how did he look? Do you feel like this is repeatable? How much of this game is the Colts being good? How much is the Dolphins being bad? Like, what's your assessment overall of this team after 1 week?
Well, I mean, Daniel Jones, how much better could you possibly get from the guy? 22 of 29 for 272 yards, even had 23 yards rushing in this game, had 3 total touchdowns, a quarterback rating of 116, the best of any quarterback in the AFC South in week 1. The Dolphins, we kind of all know here how the Dolphins are looking. They have talent all around their roster for the most part, but they have some major weak points, especially in their secondary. And the chemistry on that offense is not the same chemistry that they used to have 3 years ago. Tyreek Hill, their leading receiver, 40 yards in that game. 40 yards on 3 catches. It was 4 catches. So Tyreek Hill, a non-factor. Jalen Waddle, a non-factor. The only thing that Miami actually did offensively that had me a slight bit concerned from the Indianapolis Colts perspective was Devon Achane had 7 carries for 55 yards, was averaging 8 yards a carry. Now, he did have a 25-yard rush at the end of the game in which the game was already over at that point. It was 30-0. So maybe the Colts just weren't trying quite as hard anymore. They did have quite a few backups in at that point. And Xavier Howard was telling the media after the game, telling everybody, hey, listen, I know Tua. I know how it works. I was telling the guys, crowd the middle, force him to throw outside. And if you can get him off that first read, he's going to make mistakes. Sure enough, had 2 interceptions. Also didn't see the blindside sack coming that way and ended up having a strip sack in there as well. Obviously the Miami Dolphins not looking like a great stellar performance, but the Indianapolis Colts, make no mistake, they made it impossible for Miami to do anything.
In a game between the 93 expansion teams, we got a win from the Jaguars, who look pretty damn good themselves, winning 26-10 versus the Panthers.
No, it was awesome. I think this game really just comes down to coaching, honestly. Like, the Jaguars had 200 yards rushing. That was more rushing yards than any game the Jaguars had in 2024. Lots of pre-snap motion, which was really good, and 3 takeaways from the defense. Last year, there was 8 takeaways on the whole entire year. So, you saw a team that, it's kind of the same offensive line and stuff like that, but all of a sudden, they were pushing people. They were dominant. I really like the balanced attack that the Jaguars had going on. Obviously, the wide receivers didn't get super involved, but the Jaguars went up like 20-3 at halftime and just kind of sat on it. Like, I think, honestly, they went very vanilla because they knew that they were dominating the Panthers that game, and they knew that they had no shot. So the second half, we just kind of sat on the ball and just closed the playbook and kind of moved on to next week. So it was a fun, and it didn't even feel like the Jaguars were playing their best football. And they had like 11 penalties this game. So you had to clean that up. But man, you look at it, the Jaguars were up 20-3 at halftime. It didn't even feel like the Jags were playing their best football. It was a lot of fun. It pushes a lot of confidence into us. I know I'm just feeling super good this week. It doesn't matter what happens the rest of the year. I'm just saying right now, the Jaguars started 0-4 last year. So there was never any feel-good moment. The Jaguars are 1-0 right now. They beat a crappy opponent. The Panthers aren't very good. But one thing I know is that the Jaguars weren't very good last year. They were a bottom 5 team. So I know that at least we're not in that bottom tier category, right? We're definitely at least a step above that. But regardless, I liked a lot of the stuff that I saw. The Jaguars were pushing people around. Trevor Lawrence wasn't sacked once. It was awesome. It was awesome. So I'm really happy with what I saw this game.
Well, how did Trevor Lawrence look in this new formed offense? I mean, we can box score scout all we want, but just throw to throw. How did you feel about him? I mean, again, I know that you probably don't have questions. I'm sure a lot of Jags fans don't, but I do think a lot of people outside of the fan base certainly is looking at Trevor Lawrence as like, this is your year, man. It's make or break. You either are or you are not. So based off that game, I know it's early. He's going to, continue to progress in the offense, but overall, how do you feel like he looked?
Yeah, I mean, I like Trevor Lawrence had a really good first half, I thought. I mean, he was in control, going through his reads, converting first downs. I mean, like I said, they had a lot of penalties. So the Jaguars were in a lot of like 1st and 20 situations, and they were converting it into first downs. So that was really good. I think the big thing right now, he had one bad drive. One drive, I don't know what was happening. He was missing people, and he ended it with a interception. Really good interception by J.C. Horn. I mean, give him all the credit, but it was a bad drive. But other than that, I mean, he wasn't really put in a situation where it's like, all right, Trevor, you need to go down the field, play mistake-free football, and get a touchdown or put us in scoring range here. So overall, I thought Trevor was good. The main thing that has to be worked out on is just him and Brian Thomas Jr. in the preseason have kind of been a little bit off. And if you look at this game, Trevor Lawrence was 1 for 7 when targeting Brian Thomas Jr. and 18 for 24 otherwise. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is a good enough receiver. I think at some point it's going to get right, but needs to get right soon. I mean, you have the Bengals next week. You have the Texans in a couple weeks, 49ers, Chiefs. So the schedule gets a lot harder. I think that'll get figured out at some point just because, I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. is a good receiver, and, you don't just miss your best receiver, right? So that's something the Jaguars have to work on, but it's a brand new offense, brand new regime, a lot of new stuff going on. So there are going to be a lot of hiccups, but I'm really happy with the way week 1 went. And I think it's going to be a big year for Trevor.
Oh yeah, we do. It's Jaguars 49ers. We'll have to do a behind enemy line show for that one, Dalton. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, man, I think you guys should be pretty happy. Like you said, started 0-4 last year, and if the Panthers are a bad team and you beat them pretty handily, then that means maybe you're not necessarily a bad team at the very least. So we'll see how it plays out. All right, Michael, your turn, brother. You guys actually hung around. You fought a tough game right there. Your defense was absolutely nasty. You had Bo Nix put in a blender. At least from my eyes, Cam Ward, ups and downs, but overall for a rookie quarterback, made some plays. Also, I think was probably put in some bad situations by his coach. That's a whole nother thing. But overall, losing 20-12 against a team that a lot of people have as like a dark horse Super Bowl contender potentially out of the AFC. What were your thoughts of that game? And what were some of the takeaways that we need to know about?
Yeah, from my perspective, going into this game, I felt Denver was high and low the best team on paper and going to be on the field. But looking at what the Titans were going to go up against, my biggest thing was I wanted to see Cam Ward go out and perform, just have a good day, and I wanted to see if the defense could just hang around and just keep us in this game, which they did. So those are wins right within themselves. Now, when it comes to the coaching situation and at this point where Callie made some boneheaded decisions, especially not making a challenge when Alec Iamaner basically potentially had a catch with his elbow going down, then basically going in the press conference and saying, that his feet had to be down, which that wasn't the case. It's a whole nother story. Should have just bid on that and just took the punch in the chest. But, All in all, I come away with this as the Titans come in and they have their guy in Cam Ward. Take away the 8 drops. Every pass that he did complete and every play he was out there, he looked calm, he looked poised, and there's building blocks there. There's potential building blocks to continue to move and progress him going forward. Now, I know a lot of people aren't happy with our coaching staff right now, understandable, but at the same time, I definitely like what Cam Ward put out on the table, and I feel if they can continue to build off this and he gets more in sync with his wide receivers, and if this offensive line can gel better, I really think they've got an opportunity to get some big wins.
So what was it in watching Cam Ward that makes you feel like you guys have your guy? Again, this is why we talk through the games, because box score scouting is it's not doing him any favors. You said that there were 8 drops, which is absolutely insane. I mean, he said this was a top 5 receiving core. They definitely didn't do him any favors after he did them one. But just overall, like, what about his game makes you feel confident?
Really just looking at the film, basically just showed that he's calm in the pocket. He's able to move out, make plays, and a lot of his passes are just ropes at that point. This guy can sling the ball. He's putting the ball to his wide receivers to where they can catch it. Problem was they weren't catching it. And most of those drops that he did occur, especially in the game, really kind of happened right about where the game was finishing up. So all day, he was able to basically handle himself out there against a top 3 defense and really just try and get an opportunity to get some plays off. But unfortunately, his wide receivers and his offensive line let him down. That's the key thing there. But looking at the Titans defense, right now that's our biggest strength. If they can clean up the penalties, especially with some of the pass interference stuff with Jarvis Brownlee, this defense really gave the Titans an opportunity potentially to win this game about 4 different times. Unfortunately, like I said, playmakers let Cam Ward down at that point, but there's 17 more of these things, and we'll just see what happens. At this point, Cam Ward has the arm, he's got the talent, but everybody else has got to be on board with him.
The best team in the division with the best quarterback in the division falls to the Rams 14-9. Can't even muster a touchdown, my man. What happened in week 1? Is this a trend? Are you concerned? And is CJ Stroud a bust? I got to know the answer to all of these questions.
Oh my God.
Gosh,
Whoever
let me
said
know.
that,
I think
whoever
PD's the
needs
host.
to look themselves in the mirror. You want to know what CJ Stroud did against the blitz and against the pressure? He was 6 of 6 against the blitz. He was 9 of 10 against pressure. CJ Stroud was the least of the problems on the offense for the Houston Texans. The problem was you have a new everything, new O-line coach, new OC, 4 new starters on the offensive line. And once again, they just could not protect this guy right behind me. The Houston Texans, boys, they're about 23 years old, and it doesn't matter if it's C.J. Stroud, Deshaun Watson, David Carr, Sage Rosenfeld, Matt Schaub. We can't protect these boys. And it has plagued us since the start of this franchise. And now here we are again in year 3 talking about the same damn thing that I've been talking about all offseason, all last year. You cannot protect your quarterback. And I saw this stat that said that CJ Stroud, since entering the league, has faced the most pressure at over 40%. How do you want someone to thrive in that situation? You know what's sad, boys? I was at the season ticket member event for the Houston Texans, and they had this thing where you get to ask DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio a question. If there was 200 questions there, 180 of those sons of bitches were about the offensive line, to the point that DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio looked visibly annoyed by the questions. Well, you know what, Coach, GM, I'm annoyed seeing my quarterback run for his life. I'm annoyed that I keep on having to say, go out there and be magical, quarterback, because I've been saying that since the inception of this team. Houston Texan offense put up 9 points. Atrocious. Horrible. The defense, they did their thing. 14 points to a Sean McVay offense. I know Puka Nacua did his thing, but 14 points, and, like Torres said, the Texans had a chance to win the game at the end, but you give it to a damn third-string running back who has a captain's patch on his chest because he kicked the damn field goal for you 2 years ago. I don't understand why Dare Bungawale was on the field in that situation. Nick Caley, our new offensive coordinator, it did not look good. The only positive you can say is it's only up from here. but it was a disappointment. And what did every Houston Texan fan say this offseason? The only thing we're looking at is the O-line.